The first sign was not the ships, not the soldiers, not even the screaming, but the baby goat that walked into the village square and fell over as if someone had cut its strings. And when Cale touched its neck, he felt a pulse that was too fast and too cold, and the goat's eyes reflected a thin blue light that did not belong to the sun. And Cale knew, before anyone rang the bell, that the queen's hunters were close enough to taste fear. He stood at the edge of the square, like a mistake that refused to leave, thin and hunched in an old coat, his left arm twisted and weak from a bone that never healed right, his throat wrapped in a dirty cloth to hide the faint glow that sometimes leaked from under his skin. The village had named him cursed long ago. After the night, the aliens came and his family did not return. After the night, Cale crawled out of the ash alone with an alien mark under his tongue. After the day, he begged the healer for help, and the healer slammed the door and crossed himself like Cale was a plague. They did not let him sleep inside the walls. They did not let him eat at the tables. The king's men called him bait, then called him useless when bait did not bring them gold. Cale lived in a broken grain shed beyond the fields, with cold wind in the cracks and rats that learned not to fear his slow steps. Only Mara, the baker's daughter, sometimes left bread on a stone, never meeting his eyes, as if kindness was allowed only when it looked like an accident. That morning, Mara did not leave bread. That morning, she ran past Cale with her little brother in her arms, her face white, her mouth open, but no sound coming out yet, because some terrors steal voice before they steal life. Then the bell rang, late and frantic, and the air changed, as if the sky itself inhaled and could not breathe out. The king's local soldiers rushed into the square, shields dented, boots muddy, fear hidden behind shouting, and Captain Torin, who had once kicked Cale in the ribs for daring to ask for water, pointed toward the ridge and barked orders like he could command fate. "Hold!" Torin shouted, and his eyes snapped to Cale with the same old hatred, like blame was easier than courage. "Get out of sight," Torin hissed. "If they see you, they come. If they come, we die. You are a curse that walks." Cale wanted to answer, but his throat tightened, because the cloth on his neck was already heating up, and under it the mark burned like a coal pressed against his skin, a warning that was also a call. The ridge went dark as the first hunter appeared, tall and sharp, armor like black glass, eyes pale and still, stepping into the world as if it owned the ground. Then another. Then 5 more. Behind them, a ship hung in the air like a piece of night held by invisible chains. And on its hull was the symbol every frightened traveler knew, even if they had never seen it close, the sign of Vera, the undefeated alien warrior queen, the one who made wars into sport, the one who took worlds the way storms take roofs, the one who had never lost a duel and never forgiven an insult. A soldier beside Torin raised a bow with shaking hands and loosed an arrow that fell short, and the lead hunter did not even flinch, and a thin beam of light snapped from its spear and split the man's shield, his chest and the dirt behind him, and the soldier fell like a puppet with its strings cut, eyes wide, mouth still forming a prayer that never finished. The line broke. Men ran. Mothers screamed. Children scattered like birds. The bell kept ringing, too slow now, too useless. Cale stood still, because he had already learned what running felt like, and it always ended in someone else closing a door. The lead hunter stopped in the center of the square and turned its head toward Cale as if it had been searching for him the whole time, and its voice was flat but loud enough to slice through panic. "Marked human," it said. "Property of the queen. Present yourself." Every face turned, not toward the hunters, toward Cale, the same faces that had refused him bread, the same mouths that had whispered monster. Torin, bleeding from a cut on his arm, laughed in a bitter cough. "See?" he spat. "He brings them. Give him to them, and maybe we live." Cale felt something inside him go cold, then heavy, because he understood in that moment that Torin would gladly trade any life to save his own, and the village would let him, because fear makes people cruel when they need a reason. Cale's eyes found Mara again, pressed against a wall with her brother, and her gaze met his for a heartbeat. And in her eyes there was terror, yes, but also something else. A quiet question that asked if he would truly let them die. And Cale hated himself for how badly he wanted to be seen as human again. He looked at the hunter and forced his voice to carry. "If I go," Cale said, "will you spare the village?" The hunter's face did not change. The queen decides what is spared. Cale swallowed, the mark burning hotter. "Then take me to her," he said, and the words surprised even him. "I challenge her." The square fell silent in a wrong way, as if the world paused to listen. Torin stared like Cale had stolen a right that belonged only to strong men. "You cannot," Torin snarled. "You are nothing." Cale turned his eyes to Torin, and for the first time he did not shrink. "I am enough to die," Cale said, and then he faced the ship again. "If I lose, she takes my life. If I win, she leaves the village." A shimmer ran through the air above the ridge, and a voice came down, calm and cold and strangely amused, like a blade that enjoyed being sharp. "A weak human speaks of winning," the voice said. "Bring him." A collar of light snapped around Cale's neck, pain shooting through him, and he fell to one knee, gasping, and hands dragged him toward the ridge. No one stopped them. Not the elders. Not the soldiers. Not Torin. Only Mara took one step forward, then froze because her brother clung to her, crying, and she could not let go. As Cale was pulled away, he heard Mara whisper his name, barely louder than a breath, and that small sound was the first time in years his name felt like it belonged to someone worth saving. The ship swallowed him into cold metal air. The corridor inside was clean and silent, lined with hunters-like statues, and the floor under Cale's bare feet felt almost alive, responding to the collar's pulse, responding to the mark in his throat. At the end was a wide chamber of dark stone and starlight, and Vera stood there as if she had been waiting for him for a lifetime. Tall, armored, perfect in a dangerous way, her eyes deep like a storm seen from space. She did not sit on a throne, because the room already belonged to her. She stepped close, studying Cale like an object that had surprised her by not breaking sooner. "You lived," she said softly. Most marked humans do not. Cale's throat burned, and he tasted metal. "You took my family," he said. His voice shook on the word family. Vera's expression did not soften. "I took many," she replied. "I remember none. But I remember you, the child who crawled through fire and did not beg. So I planted my mark to see what would grow." Cale felt sick. "So I was a test," he said. Vera's lips curved, not kind, not cruel, just curious. "You were a question," she said. "Humans are weak, yet their will refuses to die. I wanted to know if your will could become a weapon." The alien nobles watching from shadows murmured like hungry insects. Cale's hands trembled, but he lifted his chin.